Hello, welcome to NG Learning, and this is going to be an introductory video for photographers looking at the parts of a DSLR or mirrorless camera. So, having a look at the diagram first, we have an objective lens over on the left, and that gathers the light from the outside world, and that light passes through over to the right, and it will hit this mirror here, and it will bounce off that, and it will be taken up to the pentaprism, and the pentaprism is a complex little glass or optical plastic structure that will make sure that image is redirected the right way around through the viewfinder so you can see what's going on through the lens. When I'm ready to take the picture, the mirror will flip up, and instead the light through the objective lens will be focused onto the sensor. And in olden days, of course, that would mean olden days, not that long ago, but that would have been film. Okay, but we have some electronics to gather that information from the sensor, process it in some way, and then it will pass that onto the screen so that we can review our pictures. You can also put it into live view, so you can take a picture using the screen instead of the viewfinder. So if we just flip over to our camera view for a second. Okay, so I'll put this the right way up. We have our objective lens over on the left. Okay, we have a mirror inside here. We have a pentaprism housed up here, and that will direct light through to the viewfinder, and then we have our screen on the back for reviewing our pictures. Okay, so if I unhook the lens, so there's normally a little button just by the lens, hold that down and twist, move the lens, and we can see the mirror inside. Okay, if I take a picture, then that mirror flips up for a second to let the light get to the sensor. Excuse me, I'll put that back together. Okay. If I have a mirrorless camera, it's a slightly different, a slightly simpler situation in that we don't have a mirror there. So the light comes in through the objective lens, hits the sensor, it's processed by the electronics. We may have a viewfinder in there that's actually a small screen through which lenses process the light, so it's seen as focused into the distance on your eye, or again conventional screen on the back. And the advantage of mirrorless there is without the mirror, the devices can be a bit smaller. Okay, so if we look at the connections we're likely to have on our camera and some of the controls will vary from camera to camera. Okay, so we have this thing called a PC connector, and PC has nothing to do with a personal computer. It's actually named after a couple of now deceased camera companies, and that is for connecting studio flashes. Okay, the higher level cameras will tend to have a microphone connector, and those that are more video oriented will have a headphone socket so you can review the video that you've been recording in the field. You may have a USB data connection, and on some cameras that allows you to connect up to a computer to shoot using the computer to control the camera. Okay, if we want to look at our images or use a larger screen to take our pictures, we have a video connection there. So this is a micro HDMI that I could put out to most modern televisions. And again, mostly used if I'm shooting in the studio. We have a power supply connection, so that if I'm shooting all day in the studio, I don't have to worry about swapping camera batteries. Okay, and some cameras will not have all of these. I'm going to look at the controls rather than the connections in a later video. Okay, so over on the other side, up at the top of the camera, we have a hot shoe connection for connecting a small flash gun. Okay, we have one or more card slots, they may be in different locations, and higher end cameras often have 2 card slots, and that's because if you're shooting as a professional at a one-off event, what you don't want to risk is losing your pictures from a card corruption, so you record to 2 cards at once. So you can also set it up to record, for example, different types of image file to the 2 cards, or to fill up 1 card and then go on to the other one. And we may want to use a wired shutter remote control, for example, to connect it to an intervalometer that will take pictures at certain intervals in time, or just to avoid shaking the camera if I'm trying to get an extremely sharp picture, so I don't shake it by pressing the shutter button as I take the picture. Okay, up on top we have a mode dial which selects different shooting modes, which again I will look at in a lot more detail in a later video. Okay, we have 1 or 2 dials for controlling my exposure. We may have an exposure compensation button, and if I'm in automatic or some of the automatic modes, that lets me adjust the picture to be lighter or darker to fit the circumstances. Okay, you may have an LCD display on top for the essential information, although a lot of lower end cameras will only put that information on the screen on the back and not on a separate screen. And we may have a separate ISO button for adjusting the sensitivity to light. Okay, power switch is going to be on there somewhere. Some again just have a button, and on here there's normally going to be some way, and on some it's a separate button for taking a preview so I can see what the image is going to be like with the final exposure. Okay, and on the back, the review button generally looks like this. Okay, whatever camera you've got. And DSLRs will often have a live view button that lets you switch to looking at the screen on the back instead of through the viewfinder. If you've got a mirrorless camera, you're effectively in live view all the time, whether it's on the viewfinder or on the screen. The image is always being processed by the electronics, and it may, for example, have a distance sensor, so it automatically switches to the viewfinder as you bring it up to your eye. Okay, and a very important part of the camera is the user manual. Now often that won't come with it. If it did, then well done, you're quite lucky, but they're always available for download on the website of the camera manufacturer, and if you want to get the most out of your camera, it is well worth downloading those and taking some time to have a look through. There will almost certainly be settings that are useful that you never would have found by yourself. Okay, I hope you found this video helpful, and do subscribe so you can catch future content. Like if you enjoyed it, and if you've got any feedback, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Goodbye for now.